Welcome to the OLV Daily Reflection for Wednesday, October 20th. Today the Universal Church celebrates St. Paul of the Cross. This particular St. Paul was born in northern Italy in 1694. After a brief time serving as a soldier, a conversion led him to focus on his faith. And through this process, he felt the call to the priesthood and eventually was ordained a diocesan priest. And after spending much time in solitary prayer throughout his ministry, he eventually developed a deep devotion to Christ's passion. And this particular devotion led to several powerful insights, with the most important being that St. Paul saw in the Lord's passion a demonstration of God's love for all people. Therefore, he felt called to devote his priesthood to a preaching ministry which shared the fruit of his prayer. And he eventually became known as one of the most popular preachers of his day. Both his words and his generous acts of mercy spoke to people throughout northern Italy and that part of Europe. In 1720, St. Paul founded the Congregation of the Passion, whose members, after the life of St. Paul, combined devotion to Christ's passion with a focus on preaching. They are now known as the Passionists, and because of their deep devotion to the passion of Jesus Christ, they added a fourth vow to the traditional three vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And this fourth vow is that they are called to spread the memory of Christ's passion among all the faithful through the work they do as Passionist priests. The Congregation of the Passion is still preaching about the Passion in today's world, and they usually offer their time and ministry to parishes who are holding parish missions or wishing to do parish renewals. St. Paul's insights are still being shared with millions of Catholics throughout the world through the work of his order that he founded. Today's first reading for the daily Mass in honor of St. Paul of the Cross comes to us from the first chapter of the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. It reads, "Brothers and sisters, the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved it is the power of God. For it is written, 'I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the learning of the learned I will set aside.' Where is the wise one? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? Has not God made the wisdom of the world foolish? And since in the wisdom of God the world cannot come to know God through wisdom, it was the will of God, through the foolishness of the proclamation, to save those who have faith. For Jews demanded signs and Greeks looked for wisdom, but we proclaim Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and foolishness to Gentiles. But to those who are called, Jews and Gentiles alike, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God. For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength." As I've mentioned before in the daily reflections, wisdom is an interesting term, because we describe people as being wise because they demonstrate through their lives that they have insights, knowledge, and practical knowledge that sets them apart. And furthermore, the wise people use their experience, their knowledge, and judgment very well. But one thing we have to acknowledge is that the experience, the knowledge, the good judgment that's associated with our contemporary world is different than that which flows from Jesus Christ. Because a person who's wise according to the standards of this world may not be wise according to the standards of Jesus Christ. And St. Paul is describing this difference in his letter to the community in Corinth. And St. Paul of the Cross understood this difference as well, because he knew that the church's wisdom has to come through Jesus Christ. And for St. Paul, this wisdom came in a special way through his passion. Because again, St. Paul saw through the passion of Jesus Christ that we can't fully understand God's love unless we are willing to surrender ourselves to Christ, and also to understand that we need to embrace our own suffering, that we have to unite our own personal lives to Christ, especially our suffering, in order to know the fullness of God's love for us and how this love can be transformative in our daily lives. So we are called to embrace the cross in each of our lives, so that, again, we can know God's love, but also become wise in Jesus Christ. And I think there's a particular paragraph in the Catechism of the Catholic Church that helps to explain this reality a little bit better. And it's paragraph 618. It reads, "The cross is the unique sacrifice of Christ, the one mediator between God and men. But because in his incarnate divine person he has in some way united himself to every man, the possibility of being made partners in a way known to God in the Paschal mystery is offered to all men. He calls his disciples to take up their cross and follow him. For Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example so that we should follow in his steps. From the cross there is no other ladder by which we may get to heaven." So, my friends, as we live out our lives, we always have to make sure that we're growing in the wisdom that comes from Jesus Christ, and a wisdom that comes from embracing our own crosses, uniting them to Jesus Christ, and allowing his love to truly flow into our lives, and also, by our service to others, letting this love flow into others' lives as well. St. Paul of the Cross and Our Lady of Victory, pray for us.